Marhaba. Right now we're going to talk about two more derived Arabic verb patterns. Form 3, or pattern 3, and form 6, what we would call in Arabic wazn fa'ala or wazn tafa'ala after their past tense conjugations. The mechanics, first of all, you'll notice that they both have the extra addition of an alif after the first letter of our judr. Remember that three-letter root that we have represented in the template by fa, ayn, lam? In the past tense for form 3, the alif would be the major indicator. I would have the first letter of my judr followed by the alif, and then ayn, lam, voweled fa'ala. In the present tense, I retain that alif, but the vowels are a little bit different. On the prefix, whatever it's going to be, I'm going to have a dhamma. I'm going to keep that alif, and then on the second letter of the judr, I add a kasra instead for yufa'il. Notice too that the masdar of form 3 is the only derived masdar form that has a ta marbuta on the end, and it also has a mim at the beginning, al-mufa'ala. So if you're looking at a new verb and you're wondering what form it might be and you see it in its masdar form, that's an excellent clue that it's a form 3 verb. Form 6 also has an alif after the first letter of our root, and it also has a ta at the beginning before the first letter of our root, our judr. So we wind up with, in the past, tafa'ala, and in the present tense, unlike form 3, form 6, not form 5, my classical education is limited. In the present tense, we're going to retain that ta and that alif. So I've got my conjugation suffix here, ta as part of the form, and I keep that alif. So conjugated for huwa, yatafa'al. We're talking about these forms together in this video because they are in some cases kind of interrelated and we have parallel forms. We're going to see that in just a minute. In terms of the basic meanings, how the wazn affects the core meaning of the judr, the root, form 3 has a couple of meanings. One meaning that's pretty common is trying to do something. So we have the verb, or I should say the judr, sin, ba, qaf, which at its most basic means coming before, being first. And if we put that into form 3, we wind up with a verb yusabiq, that means to race, to try to come before someone else. Slightly more gruesome example would be the judr qaf, ba, lam, which in form 1 makes a verb that means to kill, yaqtal, and in form 3 it gains a slightly more abstract meaning. Yuqatil means to battle, like on a battlefield, to try to kill someone. Another meaning of form 3 can just mean doing something with someone else. So we have the judr qaf, ba, lam, which in form 1 might mean to receive someone, like receiving someone in your house. And we can turn that into a form 3 verb. Yuqabil, which means more specifically to meet someone, to meet up someone in a public place. One little fact that might come in handy, if we're trying to remember the trying sense, is that the verb for try the very basic verb for trying in Arabic, is also a Form 3 verb. يحاول. So that might be a useful reminder. Form 6 means often to do something together, doing something with other people. So we get a lot of parallel constructions between Form 3 and Form 6. If we said هو يسابق صديقه مثلا, he races his friend, in a case like that, يسابق is the verb and then صديق is the object. Who is he racing? His friend. But in Form 6, I could say specifically, Form 6 enables me to say in one word, they race each other. If I were talking about a group of people, all of whom were racing together, I could say هم, could take or leave the pronoun. يتسابقون. And I know from the fact that it's Form 6 that they are racing each other. If I wanted to refer specifically on a battlefield to a group of people battling each other, I could say يتقاتلون. You'll notice that in writing and in speaking, you often encounter Form 6 in plural conjugations for this reason. Me and my friend meet up together. نتقابل. We do it together. Another meaning of Form 6, which is kind of fun, is it sometimes gives the flavor of pretending to do Form 1. For example, we have a verb in Arabic, يجهل, which means kind of to be ignorant of something. The root has to do with not knowing things, being ignorant. If we take that judr and we put it into Form 6, we get يتجاهل, conjugated for huwa, in the present tense, which specifically means to ignore. And when we ignore something, we're pretending not to know it, right? We're pretending to not know of it. We're pretending it doesn't exist, even though we know it is. That's what it means, to ignore. My favorite example might be a verb in Form 6 from the judr of the adjective marid, which you probably know. Marid means sick, ill. Once I was feeling under the weather and I couldn't make my Arabic class, and the next day I came and I talked to my ustad and I said, I'm sorry, ya ustad, I wasn't able to be in class today, أنا كنت مريض. I was sick. And he looked at me, not unkindly, but with a skeptical eye, and he said, John, كنت مريض, you were sick, or هل كنت تتمارض, were you just pretending to be sick? In Form 6, this verb specifically means to malinger, to feign an illness, perhaps to get out of taking an Arabic test. So we get a lot of delicious verbs from Form 6 in that pretending paradigm as well. So those are the basic meanings of Form 3 and Form 6. Again, very important to remember that we see kind of parallel forms between them. We can meet up with someone, or we can get together in Form 6. We can race against someone else in Form 3, or we can race each other, all of us, in Form 6. And that's kind of the link that binds those two forms together a lot of the time.